For decades, America's closest allies relied heavily on Washington for defense, security, and economic stability. But that equation may be starting to change. Canada is reducing key defense dependencies. Italy is looking beyond traditional suppliers for advanced military technology. And Japan's trillion-dollar Treasury position remains under scrutiny as global financial pressures intensify. Individually, these developments may seem unrelated. Together, they reveal a broader shift that could reshape alliances, procurement decisions, and economic influence for years to come. Welcome back to your ultimate pit stop, Piston Pundit. Let's examine the 6 developments quietly redefining power across the Western world. Number 6. Energy shockwaves. Why allies are rethinking dependence. Before examining Canada, Italy, and Japan, it is important to understand the forces driving many government decisions today. Global energy markets remain vulnerable to disruptions, particularly around key shipping routes such as the Strait of Hormuz. When uncertainty rises, transportation costs increase, manufacturing becomes more expensive, and inflation spreads throughout the economy. For automakers, higher fuel prices often boost demand for hybrids, fuel-efficient vehicles, and EVs, while rising interest rates can make financing more difficult. Much like manufacturers diversify suppliers to protect production, governments are increasingly pursuing diversified partnerships, stronger domestic industries, and more resilient supply chains to reduce strategic vulnerabilities. Those pressures are pushing governments to rethink long-standing dependencies, and Canada may be the clearest example. Number 5. Canada rewrites the rules. Defense independence begins. One of the most significant policy shifts is taking place in Canada. While defense cooperation with the United States remains extensive through NORAD, NATO, and intelligence sharing agreements, Ottawa is placing greater emphasis on domestic industrial capability. Canada's new defense strategy follows a simple principle: build, partner, buy. The goal is to strengthen Canadian industry first, collaborate with trusted allies second, and purchase externally when necessary. Planned investments span aerospace, cybersecurity, naval modernization, Arctic infrastructure, and advanced manufacturing. The strategy resembles modern automotive supply chain planning, where manufacturers reduce dependence on single suppliers to improve resilience. Canada is applying similar thinking to long-term national security and industrial competitiveness. But defense manufacturing is only one part of Canada's strategy. The next move is unfolding in one of the world's most strategically important regions. Number 4. Arctic power play. Canada builds new strategic alliances. Canada's evolving approach is perhaps most visible in the Arctic. As climate change opens new shipping opportunities and intensifies competition for resources, the region has become strategically critical. Ottawa has strengthened cooperation with Nordic nations including Denmark, Finland, Iceland, Norway, and Sweden. These partnerships increasingly involve defense planning, cybersecurity initiatives, Arctic operations, research programs, and intelligence sharing. Operating in the far north requires specialized equipment, extensive logistics, and close coordination under some of the harshest conditions on Earth. Similar to how automakers conduct extreme cold weather testing to ensure vehicle durability, Arctic nations must prioritize resilience and adaptability. These growing partnerships highlight a broader trend toward specialized alliances built around shared challenges and common strategic interests. Yet Canada isn't the only ally expanding its options. Across southern Europe, another NATO member is making a decision that highlights how competitive defense markets have become. Number 3. Italy breaks tradition. Turkish drones join carrier fleet. Another significant shift is emerging from southern Europe. Italy's navy is moving toward operating Turkish-made Bayraktar TB3 drones from the aircraft carrier Cavour, highlighting the growing competitiveness of the global defense market. Modern drones now perform surveillance, reconnaissance, targeting support, and a growing range of operational missions. Italy's choice reflects a broader trend. Governments increasingly prioritize performance, affordability, availability, and mission suitability over traditional supplier relationships. Much like today's vehicle buyers compare technology, efficiency, and value across global brands, defense customers are evaluating solutions on capability rather than reputation alone, creating new opportunities for emerging manufacturers worldwide. Before we continue, if you're enjoying this analysis, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to Piston Pundit. It helps us bring more in-depth coverage of the automotive industry, technology, global trade, and the geopolitical developments shaping the road ahead. But military hardware isn't the only source of influence. Financial power can be just as important. Number 2. Japan's $1 trillion leverage. Why markets are watching. Japan remains one of the largest foreign holders of U.S. Treasury securities, with holdings exceeding $1 trillion. For decades, this relationship has supported both countries, providing Japan with highly liquid investments while helping finance U.S. government borrowing. However, currency fluctuations can complicate the picture. A weaker yen may force policymakers to adjust financial strategies or manage reserves differently. Because Japan's holdings are so large, any significant shift attracts global attention. Higher treasury yields can influence mortgage rates, business financing, and auto loans. Just as vehicle sales depend heavily on financing affordability, broader economic activity often depends on stable borrowing conditions. Yet the bigger story goes far beyond treasury bonds or defense contracts. Number 1. Allies have more options. America's influence faces test. The most important development is not any single procurement decision or financial adjustment. It is the growing number of alternatives available to America's allies and partners. The United States remains the world's largest economy and one of its most influential strategic powers, but global competition continues to intensify. New defense manufacturers are entering international markets, regional partnerships are becoming more sophisticated, and countries are diversifying supply chains to reduce vulnerabilities. Similar to the automotive industry, where even iconic brands must constantly innovate to remain competitive, national leadership increasingly depends on technological excellence, reliability, affordability, strong partnerships, and the ability to adapt to changing global conditions. And that brings us to the central takeaway behind all of these developments. Verdict: strategic flexibility wins, the global shift accelerates. Canada's defense modernization, expanding Arctic partnerships, Italy's drone acquisition plans, and Japan's role in global finance may appear unrelated on the surface. Yet together they point toward a common trend. Nations are seeking greater resilience, flexibility, and strategic independence in an increasingly unpredictable world. The United States remains a dominant military and economic force, but allies are expanding their options and strengthening alternative partnerships. Whether these changes ultimately reinforce existing alliances or create new competitive dynamics remains uncertain. What is clear is that the global landscape is evolving faster than many expected, and the decisions being made today could influence international relationships for decades to come. Now, we'd love to hear from you. Do you think Canada's push for defense diversification will strengthen or weaken its relationship with the United States? Was Italy right to select Turkish drone technology based on capability and value rather than traditional suppliers? How important do you think Japan's treasury holdings are to America's long-term financial stability? Share your thoughts, opinions, and experiences in the comments below. We read every comment and enjoy hearing different perspectives from the Piston Pundit community. If you enjoyed this analysis, be sure to subscribe to Piston Pundit and turn on notifications so you never miss our next vehicle updates, industry insights, and geopolitical developments shaping the automotive and economic world. Thanks for watching and see you next time. You can now check out any of the videos on the screen, there's plenty more to explore.